Welcome to Loan Officer Success Live, sponsored by Premier Lending, the show where the mortgage industry's top players pull back the curtain. Your host, Devin Dubuque, sits down with industry leaders, top producers, and game-changing mortgage tech innovators, all sharing their unfiltered strategies, bold ideas, and proven secrets for success. Get ready to take notes, think bigger, and play to win, because this is Loan Officer Success Live. Talk about think bigger, man. You know, we've got somebody pretty special on here today. You know, we've brought on returning co-host Gretchen Shelton, and she brought in Michael Frey, Armada Real Estate down in South Florida. Michael is dominating the Naples, Fort Myers market. He's also over on the East Coast as well, in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. And man, we are just super, super excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael.
Hey, and thanks for letting me come. Yeah, we're expanding pretty heavily. In fact, I'm also in negotiations, talking to Sarasota, Tampa, and Jacksonville. So keeping our fingers crossed.
Watch out, Florida. Here Michael comes. And I know we talked a little bit in the green room before we jumped on, both residential and commercial as well, correct?
Yeah, my forte is commercial, but, you know, I say in general, agents shouldn't be restricting themselves. Everybody wants to have their little niche. I do luxury, or I do homes between 500 and 800,000. And to me, I like the business aspect of commercial, but residential puts food on your table. And anybody who's an agent that restricts themselves to one particular genre, unless they have this monster book of revenue and business, they really should not be so myopic.
Yeah, I love that concept, right? At the end of the day, you know, we've got to make sure that you know, we're bringing that revenue in, and if what we're limiting ourselves to isn't moving the needle, right? Open up your spectrum a little bit and make sure that you've got multiple streams of revenue. I think most great entrepreneurs do, right, Michael?
Exactly. I mean, you know, I once had some agents, you know, because I give leads to all my agents. And I had one refuse a $25,000 lot. I took it over. I made a couple $1,000s, and I announced to the agents, if I gave you $2,000 to work for a few hours, would you take that opportunity? And they all said yes. And I said, if you ever refuse a vacant lot deal from me again, you will be off the leads.
My man. Yeah. I look, you know, at the end of the day, the best part about that whole story is you led by example, right? You know, you've got some monster clients out there. You do some really big business, but there's no client, right, that you're going to refuse, because at the end of the day, they deserve your service. And what a great lesson to teach your team.
Exactly. I mean, it's just, you know, it's very simple. What's the goal? The goal is to close deals. I don't care if the transactions are $10,000 or $10 million. Your job as a realtor is to close deals. And if you restrict yourself, you don't close as many deals.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that idea. Well, you know, let's take this back a little bit, because we know where you're at right now. And that's Naples, Florida area. But where are you from originally? Is Florida your home state?
No, I'm born and raised in New York. If I get a couple little bit of drinks in me, or a couple of New Yorkers come around me, the hood comes back out. So yeah, I was born and raised on Long Island. I've been down in Florida, in the Southwest Florida area, for just over 20 years, or years, depending on, you know, where you're from. And I've been doing real estate down here, private equities, commercial, residential, for 20 years. And just enjoying the market.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, being down here in Texas, I got to say, New York City.
That's right.
So let's talk about this a little bit. So you moved to the South Florida market 20 years ago. Were you a realtor back then? Was this what you had inspired to be, or where'd you get your start?
No, honestly, I was a private entrepreneur. So I did real estate, but not as a realtor. In 20 years ago, I bought and sold commercial and residential buildings with agents. Just did entrepreneur business activities, and eventually got tired of, honestly, agents screwing up deals. And I saw how people were commission hungry, when they would not give me a good analysis of a particular property. And finally, my wife's like, go get your real estate license. Like, I hate to say it, it's funny. Real estate, as far as a type of vocation, believe it or not, I despised most of the agents. I was very picky working with very specific people because, honestly, I thought in general, most agents are door openers. They're lazy. They only want to work certain hours. I never understood that type of work ethic. I bring a Northeastern mentality, so to speak, where we work hard. I will call people on a Sunday at 8:30. I'm not going to call them at 11:30 at night, but I will call someone at 7:30, 8:30 at night to make sure the deal's right, or make sure, do they have the information I've sent them, or are they staying up on their contract? Did they make their escrow? I don't shut the time clock off at 5 o'clock. I mean, it disgusts me when I see in the listings in MLS where they say only responds between 8 and 5. Who does that? We're not running a candy store. We're running a real estate company. And this mindset of, we'll just say, working half cocked it's not a good ethic. It's not a way of making revenue and building a business and being a good reputation. I think at this point of my career, when I make a phone call, people know there's a deal coming. I don't take things lightly. I take things very serious. I don't care if the deal's 10,000 or 10 million. Everybody gets treated the same, and I work each deal just as hard.
Well, amen to that, right? And, last time I looked, we're in the people business, and, it's all about building great relationships and helping people find the right people to trust. And there's no question as to how you built that reputation. I can feel it in the passion, the way you speak, right? But what I always like to talk about is, people always say when people are buying real estate, it's their most expensive purchase. And that's true, right? But it's more than that. It goes way deeper than that, right? Because this is the place where we spend the majority of our time. It's where we break bread. It's where we spend holidays and have our good times and our bad times in. And like when we're putting that type of like precious thing in control of somebody else, right? It's scary sometimes. And when the person doesn't pick up the phone on the other side of that transaction, right? The person that's supposed to be there to represent them and to guide them through, right? What kind of service are they truly providing? And so I couldn't agree with you more with everything that you just said, because that's really what it's all about, is providing a service to where the people can trust you. And it's no question as to why you're having success, Michael, because that's exactly what you do. Now let's frame that back in a little bit, because sometimes you get new agents that are just getting started and they want to know, well, how do I get there? Right. So you flash backwards 20 years ago and you recognize that people weren't really doing this business right. What did that road look like to getting to where you are today? Right. And there's a long road there. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Well, honestly, we've all made our mistakes, right? I would say early on in my career, sometimes you allow, right, when you first started actually becoming an agent, not just doing deals, right, a different mindset, you try to please too many people, right? And you can't have that yes attitude. Now, especially right now with this economy, where it's a heavy buyer's market. Sellers are really getting hurt depending on where they decided to buy the house, and now that they're trying to sell the house, you have to eliminate that yes and be honestly very, very serious, very stringent, and basically tell people, for example, here's a great example. I just refused a $1.5 million listing.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't want to, But the client, I'm sitting with them, I'm showing them where things are unfortunately closing at.
That's right.
We'll say 20 years ago, I would have took that in a heartbeat. Now, mind you, 20 years ago is a different market, but we're just going to compare apples to apples, right? 20 years ago, I would say yes right away, regardless of the market.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I'll be happy to take that listing. Oh, I got a $1.5 million listing. That's fantastic. In this market right now, I was straight up. I said, listen, if we have to go down to 1.2 million, are you going to be able to go down that far?
Yeah.
Are you prepared? Showing that person where, unfortunately, things are closing at. In the future, in the past, when we were doing comps, we're like, we're looking at what's out on the market and how can we just undercut the market. But in reality, right now, when it's a heavy buyer's market and sellers are getting basically, we'll just say, much lower offers than they've even thought of.
They are.
I actually changed it where I'm showing them where everything's closing at in the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and showing trends. And if they're not willing to go down, I'm not wasting my time and energy. And I told them, I said, listen, I'll list your property for $5 million, but here's what's going to happen. You're going to pay for every single expense that I need. And he said, why? I said, because if you're not willing to go down to 1.2, I'm not willing to put in the money to put the effort in to get this house sold, because the goal is to sell the house. I said, will it get to 1.2? I don't know that. But if you look at where everything is closing right now, it may get to 1.2, unfortunately.
Well, I think it's more than that, Michael. It's not that you're not willing to do it. It's that you're not willing to put them in that position and set them up for failure, right? And, at the end of the day, that's exactly what it's doing, is letting the seller right now guide the transaction, say, but this is what I got to have. That's not going to work. It's not a strategy to get homes moved off the market. And, you can walk around in most parts of the country, not all. There's some markets that are super healthy right now and homes are moving, but most markets in the country today are struggling to move properties. I drive down my own block and I see 10 homes on the market. And unfortunately, 2 of them just pulled off last week, right? Why? Because they were marketed way too high to move in today's economy. I had an agent recently. I had an investment property out in Kansas. That's where I'm from originally. And I had it on the market with a good friend of mine who, I trust, right? However, it's set longer than it should have. And what I found was he wasn't giving me the news that I needed to hear, the things that you're talking about, Michael. And so I had to pull that off market and transition it over to another agent. She told me exactly what I needed to hear. Devin, the reason your house isn't moving is because there's a new development around the corner. And these homes are actually larger, newer, and they're selling for $20,000 less than where you're at right now. And ultimately, they're not as nice of an area, but it doesn't change the fact if I can get more square footage and extra bedroom for $20,000 less, that's where I'm going, right? So
especially in certain price points, you're right.
That's it. So funny how that works. We make the change to the strategy, and literally within a month, the home is sold. Off the market, cash offer, boom, done and done, right? No magic trick there, just hard facts and the truth.
I mean, I had that exact same experience. I had a client, we met with them, this nice Latin couple. I am bilingual, which does help. And we're sitting there talking, and originally, and once again, the reason why I listed it at 345 initially is only because they were willing to go down if need to. Because I told them, I showed them, just like you said, I said, listen, there is brand new homes on the market, like you just said, same square foot, maybe even larger, for less than 300. But I said, let's give it a few weeks. We actually, believe it or not, got a bunch of showings because it is a nice piece of property. They had a bigger piece of land. But honestly, at the end of the day, then they finally said, we need to sell it. I said, okay. We listed at 300. We don't budge. In 1 week, I got it sold. But
how'd that happen? What'd we do?
We got it to that price point. But fortunately, initially, they were willing to listen. And that's the key thing that agents they can't be afraid to tell the truth, right? Right now, knock on wood, I'm designing a real estate app that I believe will be a better way to negotiate real estate around the country.
That's great.
It's basically a combination, in simple terms, Zillow meets Facebook meets Angie's List, all in one platform. Cool. And I've been spending a lot of time, money, and energy in creating this app with software companies. And the thing about my app is 100% full disclosure. And that's the issue with the whole NAR settlement, right? You can post commissions on my app. You can have a full conversation. And I think agents really need to do that. They really need to go and state to other clients, this is the truth. And it's that joke, you can't handle the truth, right? But in real estate, if you're the seller,
you can't handle the truth.
Yeah, exactly. You need to handle the truth. If you're a seller, you need to understand where the market is, where we're at. I mean, my own parents asked me to sell their house. I told them we can't. Unfortunately, they bought it a long time ago in around 2008, 2009, when the market was huge. And believe it or not, over the last 20 years, it's almost at the same point.
Oh,
ouch. Hey guys, if you're listening in too and you like what Michael's saying, go over to his Instagram page and follow him. Again, an app that's going to help move real estate and price homes properly. This is something we need out there. And if you're an advocate for that kind of thing, and I think there's a lot of people out there right now, not just agents, but homeowners, right, that are looking at who can I trust to help market my property. Go check out Michael's page and make sure you like and subscribe it. And feel free to comment and DM, right? Like that's what it's all about is, communicating with each other. Michael, I'd probably like to say you're not afraid to take a question or two, are you?
Never. I mean, honestly, and for the people out there, I'm looking for partners. Any big mortgage companies, title companies wants to be preferred on that app. We have ways of buying, stock percentages and be contributors. So I'm ready to take this to the next level. In fact, part of my software, I own a software company. Part of my software company is in Europe. And we're actually, our 4-year plan is we're designing a better type of MLS system in Europe.
Ooh.
We have some big, in a perfect world, if things keep going, because it is very expensive. If we go in this direction, this could be, sky's the limit. We'll just hope. We can dream, man. Right? Let's dream big.
Dream big.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to bring you over here, and I know Gretchen, you were super excited, when Michael said he'd join us because you are doing some big things out there and a lot of people already know who you are, but man, we just want to spread the word, but we know good people that are doing big things. This is a space for us to share that out there, right?
And Gretchen's been a great lender. I've talked to her a few times. She's always picking up the phone. She answers text. I mean, this is huge for me. I don't deal with people who don't communicate. I really don't. I have zero tolerance for people who can't return a text or can't return a phone call because I'm busier than most people. And if I can return it, you can. And if you can't, I don't do business with you. I just have
Amen to that.
Thank you.
Let's get some word of advice out there, Michael, right? I mean, this is an interesting market and let's talk to our homeowners, right? What would you tell a homeowner right now that wants to, consider moving their property? They want to sell, right? How do they go about doing that in today's economy, where we're at in real estate today?
Well, first of all, if they're in Florida, they can call me. But realistically, the agent really has to do a good job, right? Not only do they need to understand where the homeowner first bought their house for, right? You need to understand your starting point. More importantly, you also need to know, are they mortgage free, right? Are they debt free or not? Because you have to equate, right? I have another saying that I'm working on copywriting. It's basically people lie, math doesn't. And it's a fact, right? There's only one way of 2 + 2 = 4.
I say it all the time.
Doesn't equal 3.9. So people lie, math doesn't. And you always have to make the math make sense.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, right? For example, if they bought a house at $400,000, right, and they're paying the minimum, that house in 30 years is really about $600,000 or $700,000, right? Over the course of a 30-year mortgage, and of course, you guys are lenders, you can tell us exactly down to the penny what that would be, but we're just talking right now. So we have to understand where that client bought the house at, where they're at. Do they have equity? Do they not have equity?
Right.
They could be a minimum payment, and on this $400,000 house, after 10 years, they may still owe $300,000.
That's right.
So when we go to then sell, we need to know what the end game is.
Yeah.
Because if they think they're going to sell this $400,000, they have $300,000 left on their mortgage, and you're going to sell it for $500,000. Listen, you're going to end up with $100,000, maybe on a good day, $80,000 left to do what? Another down payment for a home? That's about it.
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about, Michael, is strategy, right? And it's about listening to your clients, hearing what their needs are, and then setting down and looking at the math, because as you said, right, the numbers don't lie. And hey, let's talk about this. Is this going to get you where you really want to be? And I think a lot of people, agents, are afraid to do that because they don't want to blow the listing, right? But you could also be taking that client down a rabbit hole that's going to lead them to failure, leave you with egg on your face, and not accomplish what everybody came to the party to do, right? Which is get a home sold. So this
people don't realize, like, this is a cancel culture, right? So let's take it to an even extreme. So an even extreme is, say this person came to you, right? And we'll just use the same scenario. It's a $400,000 house, and you tell them we can sell it for $600,000. And at the end of the day, they end up with this $80,000 left to do something, and they can't even buy something. You don't think they're going to blast you on social media, on your website, on Google reviews, and all these kind of things? I mean, you have to consider the power of people now, the power of digital marketing.
Right. Everybody's a marketer. Everybody's the news.
20, 30 years ago wasn't a big deal, right? Now, when everybody just can type anything they want on the internet, on a Google review, on a social media, you have to I take every situation very seriously, because at the end of the day, not only do I want to do a good job, I always want to leave my clients profitable, but also at the end of the day, I want them to be happy. I want them to leave a nice review. I want them to refer to myself, my team, or my company. And more importantly, I want them to refer their friends, their family, even their enemies. And you say, well, why would they refer your enemies? And you say, well, guess what? You can say, well, I got some money off your enemies. So guess what? I'm always making deals. And that's the end of the day. The end of the day is to do a good job, make your clients profitable, and keep a solid reputation.
Well, let's go back to where you started, Michael. You started, I said 20 years ago. I was, in the investment side of the business, and I was frustrated with the level of service that I was being provided. Right. And that's why you got into the industry in the first place. And then flash forward to today, and exactly what you hated is exactly the opposite of who you are. Right. You're out there representing your people with everything that you needed in a realtor. Right. And now you're out there doing it for folks. And again, it's no surprise as to why you've had so much success in your business, because you're providing value. You're telling people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And that's what people really need, right? Like, we've got to have somebody that's going to give us a plan that's going to get us where we want to go, but we can't do it with BS, right? BS gets nobody anywhere.
No, it doesn't do any good. And it's not even just that. It's not even just like how you should explain yourself. It's also how I want it to be treated as a new agent, right? I'll never forget, like, my first time I joined this company, and I'm learning about splits, right? And they say, because you're a brand new agent, you 5 deals at 40%. I lose 40%, right? And I remember like I was fine because I was still green. I knew how to do real estate. I knew how to buy real estate, right? I knew how to buy, do transactions, do private equity, do all that stuff. But I wasn't in the actual grind of a real tour, right? So I said, fine, I'll accept this and we'll see how it goes, right? So after like a month or so, I'm already doing deals on my own as I usually do. I have my own book. And I finally pulled them both in a room. I said, both the broker and my mentor, and I said, what am I getting for 40%? I said, you haven't helped me close deals. I don't understand he's like, well, that's what I get. I said, but what? I said, I don't mind paying you $10,000 a month if I'm getting what I'm getting. I don't understand what I'm getting for 40% of my revenue. And they said, well, the guy got all upset. I've been doing this 12 years. I said, I don't care if you've been doing 20 years. You're not giving me the tools to justify me giving you 40%. I've been a consultant all around the globe. I don't charge 40%.
Well,
so
I'm glad
I just said, forget it. Thank you. You know who's best at being my own boss? Myself.
There it is.
So I joined my partner. We started with 8 agents, went up to now we're over 48 agents.
Wow.
East Coast, next coast. I'm already looking at, like I said,
you're doing stuff internationally.
Jacksonville. Let's start with Florida. Because honestly, you get too big too fast and you lose sight of the big picture, right? So to me as an agent, and I got on a little tangent, but to me as an agent, I wanted, it's okay to give splits. Like we have an 80-20 split, and I give my agents everything because I don't want them to have to come out of pocket. I pay for the CRM, business cards, photo shoots, the website. I pay for the street signs. I pay for everything in that 80-20.
Value on value on value.
I want you to work. I'm showing them value. I give them leads, paid leads that I pay $20,000 a month out of my own pocket that I was giving my agents leads. And that's when I got upset because you understand, like, if I'm paying for these leads, you're not working them. It's costing me money.
That's right.
So I'll never forget one of my agents thought, I started closing deals. Can I get a better split? And I said, okay, listen, we're all about negotiating. I said, this section where you want your splits cost me $5,000 a month. I said, how much are you going to contribute to the leads?
Yeah.
And of course, there's a quiet on the phone. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, if you want more splits, you got to have skin in the game. I said, you want an extra 10%? It's going to cost you $2,500 a month to split that with me, 50-50. I'll even give you 20% more.
Yeah.
I said, I will take 10% off every one of your deals if you pay $2,500 a month. So, well, that's a lot of money. I said, when it's not coming out of your pocket, it's no big deal to not work the leads. But if it's coming out of your pocket,
that's right.
It's a big surprise.
Well, I love that you said that, Michael. We talk about this all the time with just coaching in general, right? We're big advocates of coaching our teams, but also getting coaching. And what we found is that the individuals that go out and they get the coaching for free, they don't value it, right? And at the end of the day, what we find with that is they don't take action, right? They just go, they show up, they listen. Sometimes they don't even show up. And at the end of the day, maybe they do it, maybe they don't, right? But the folks that actually get vested and put some skin in the game, right, that actually put something out of their own pocket, those are the ones that actually take advantage and go out and actually do the work and take the action. And that's what you're talking about here, right? Is 100%. Sometimes, it's got to get real scary. You got to spend money that really hurts to recognize why you need to do something. And that's what takes you from here to there. I had a great conversation with somebody the other day, and he said that when he first got invested in coaching, he said his first couple of months, he wasn't really following it. And he said by the third month, the coach set him aside and he said, look, I don't need your money. He's like, a lot of coaches, they wouldn't tell you that. He's like, I don't need your money. He's like, if you're not going to do this, he's like, why are you wasting the money? He's like, this is an awful lot of cash and you're just wasting it away. And he said it was the slap across the face that he needed, right? And that was when he got vested. And today he's one of the best loan officers in his market, and runs a team and branch just like you do, right? Why is that? Because somebody took the time to slap him across the face with a hard dose of reality and said, hey, you got to put your skin in the game. But if you're going to do that, do something with it, right? And here you are saying, hey, I'll split with you, no problem. Let me show you a peek behind the curtains. What the wizard looks like, right? And if you really want it, let's go. Let's do it.
I have no problems giving stuff away. I do it all day long in all my deals. Here's a perfect example. It was just a $500,000 condo, maybe a little bit more. I think it was $665, and this is like 7 months ago. My buyer wanted to pay no more than $580, right? I went, I said, cash offer, close 3 weeks, as is, $580. The agent texts me and says, could you get him to go up to $600 so we don't have to reduce our commissions? I said, no, I won't. I said, how about this? I'll go from 3% to 2%. You sign the contract today. I gave away 1% so we can get the deal done.
My man.
Right? And she did. And the funny part is, irony is great, right? So when they went and signed me the commission agreement, like weeks later, they sent me one for 3%. So I signed that one quick and sent it right back. Because a contract's a contract. It is. But once again, I will give away stuff to get the deal done because greed, there's a saying, right? Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. Yeah. I'd rather be a big fat pig. To me, I'm not screwing up a deal. Like, so I'm making, instead of 15,000, I'm making 10,000. I don't know. Last I checked, that's a pretty good amount of money for a deal. Yeah. So to me, that's all I got. That's all I got. And that's how I deal all the time. I give, in fact, depending on the deal, I will give clients up to $1,000 of my own commission just as a thank you to get deals done.
Yeah.
All the time. I have I just posted one recently. This client I have just became a citizen. I gave him $1,000 as a welcome to the country.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, and that's the kind of agent that you want in your corner. And at the end of the day, Michael, you see the big picture, right? And the big picture is you help somebody get what they want, right? You're going to have a lifetime full of blessings. And look at you today, right? You've got 40 agents. You're located all over Florida. You're expanding. You're building tech internationally, right? And guys, if you want to get to know Michael and his team, right, go check out his website. I've got that running across the bottom of the screen. And I know you mentioned, full disclosure, it's under construction. He's not happy with it where it is. So if you get there, just know there's going to be a refresh. So a reason to keep clicking that button and coming back. And if you want to connect with Michael on Instagram, michaelfrey.realtor, that's where you're going to find him. And I've got that scrolling right across the screen. So feel free to go check that out. Gretchen, I'm going to give you a plug too. Gretchen's on our team. We're over here at Premier Lending. Gretchen guides you home is what she goes by. And she certainly does, right? Like Michael said earlier on, she answers the phone. She picks up. And even when it's inconvenient, she's going to be there for you. And this is what makes great teams, right? Great partners. Michael, I know we can't keep you here all day. And I can tell already you and I could rap for a couple of hours. What did we not tackle today that we want to put out there and, just leave people with a closing message?
I would just say, if you're in the Florida area, and listen, if you're not in the Florida area, I have connections all around the country. And if for buyers and sellers out there, if you really want to have I would say a quality agent in Florida, definitely give me a call, 239-246-4483. Or like you said, look at my website, my social media. And once again, I can get you in contact with my connections all around the country. And if you're an agent and if you want to work, and I'm going to stress this word,
Yeah.
If you want to work in Florida, call me. If you want to be a door opener, don't call me. I want people who are hungry, who want to build a business, who want to understand real estate, and who want to build a solid reputation that they can feel comfortable calling themselves a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and talk about transparency, right? You know, if you want to know what that structure would look like, just hit the rewind button, and he outlines it right here on the call. And he's going to tell you what he will give you and what he won't give you. And it sounds like they're shelling out a whole heck of a lot over there at the Armada team, Armada team, which you can find at armadateam.com. That's ARMADA team.com. Go check those guys out. And again, Michael, thank you so much. Michael Frey, everybody, here in the house today. Gretchen, any closing words from you? Anything you'd like to say to the audience before we wrap up today?
I really appreciate Michael coming on here, and I love his approach to all of it, whether he's helping agents, make the most and be successful, or even his clients. He always has a big heart for those that he's working with.
And honestly, Gretchen, not to, I want to help you out too as well, because you've always been very helpful. Gretchen just educated me a little bit on some new rules with the hometown heroes. And for buyers and sellers out there in Florida, I think you should quickly just say that one thing that you just talked about that changed from this year to last year.
Yeah, the Hometown Heroes is a phenomenal program. You get up to 5% of your loan amount, which would be up to, $35,000, but you do have to be an essential worker this year. Last year it was opened up to anybody that worked in the state of Florida, but now you have to be an essential worker. But it's still a phenomenal program. We're helping out the veterans, those that work in the hospital, teachers, firefighters, police officers. If you're not sure whether or not you qualify, I can help you find out.
Yeah, you can
find
find
a mortgage
Gretchen.
person that'll pick up the phone. Definitely Gretchen's one.
Amen. Well, you can find Gretchen at Gretchen Loan Officer on Facebook. Again, that's Gretchen Loan Officer on Facebook. Or you can reach out to her. What's the URL we've got? Is it GretchenShelton.homes? Is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah, GretchenShelton.homes. And just look right there behind her. There's her name. That's how you spell it. And hey, there's another program too, since we're throwing it out there, right, in Florida, but also nationwide. So if you can't qualify for the Homes for Heroes or Hometown Heroes, I think is what it is in Florida, there is another program. Gretchen, do you just want to give a quick shout out on that as well, that helps with DPA and down payment assistance?
Yeah, we also use the Florida housing. You do have to be a first-time home buyer, but that's only someone who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years, and you can get 10 grand used toward down payment or closing costs. Yep. Or you can use Michael, who could negotiate a good deal, getting the seller to help pay for that as well.
I always do that. That's the one big thing that I think, and that's a great, honestly, thank you, Gretchen. That's a one thing that I think a lot of agents miss, especially in this economy, is I would sooner get from my buyers, believe it or not, closer to asking price and demanding more sellers concessions than simply lowering the price.
Yeah.
As you mortgage people know, that's way more advantageous mathematically.
Yeah,
it helps. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the smart strategy right now. We're actually hearing agents over on the West Coast that are even putting right in the listing that the seller is already willing to contribute towards the 2-1 buy down to help make homes more affordable. So, another strategy out there for you realtors is just, talk to your seller up front, and instead of dropping price, negotiate in the 2-1 buy down offer right out there in the listing information, so people know that those homes are affordable, right? You can get in at a really good competitive rate. And going back to the down payment assistance programs, Premier Lending and Gretchen does have it. I don't normally give plugs, but I think it's important for people to know what programs are out there. We do have down payment assistance programs up to 5% in both repayable and non-repayable versions that are available to all homeowners of any type at any time of the year. They don't run out of money, and you can actually qualify for a home potentially with zero out of pocket. I know that sounds crazy, but if you negotiate the deal right with a realtor like Michael, you could get into a home with no money out of pocket, even if you don't qualify for either of those two programs. And that's right here with Premier Lending. So again, reach out to Gretchen if you have questions about that. We'd love to guide you home. So guys, thank you so much. Michael Frey, Gretchen Shelton, great show today, team. I think we're going to go ahead and close it out. So I'm Devin Dubuque. Keep coming back for great guests like Michael and Gretchen. If you want to see them back on, drop me a comment or DM me, because we will bring back the guests that you love. Michael, you'd be good for another go around, I assume?
Absolutely. Anything. I think this is enjoyable. I think part of being successful is giving your information out there. I couldn't stand when, honestly, in the past, you would say, well, you're not helping, right? To me, is as an agent, I want to grow my agents. I want to teach them. I want to build them, because the better they build up, the better we all build up. So I'll be happy to come on anytime you ask. This has been more than a pleasure. It's always been an educational experience.
Amen.
Gretchen is lovely to work with.
And sorry if I dropped off there. I had a little glitch
I was like,
but I am
I'm just
back.
going to close it out.
Well, we're going to close it out. So I'm hitting the end stream button. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one. Michael, sit tight just for 1 second. Give me 30 seconds, and we'll be right back on. You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates, and keep leveling up, because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.